Hey, good evening traders, it's Mark here. It's 9:15 in the UK and I'm back from my summer vacation, feeling refreshed and raring to go. It's a big day in the markets tomorrow. We've got the FOMC. Let me just pull up the news so you can see exactly what's coming and what's expected. Here we are, 1 second. Let's just bring this across. Okay, so tomorrow at 7 p.m. UK time, we have the federal funds rate expected to come in at 2.5%. That's an increase of 75 basis points. The question is this already priced in? Let me just so you can see it if you're unsure of what I'm talking about. So this was the previous rate and this is what's forecast. Now the question is this priced in, the 75 basis points? Has the market priced in more? We've no idea, so don't try and gamble and guess what the outcome is going to be. Wait for the news to be released. Then, no doubt, during the press conference, you're going to see some more toing and froing and battling between buyers and sellers. And then we'll probably get a real gist of what's happening the day after. But there's a few charts that really are interesting me right now. And we're going to start with the euro. As to why this is interesting and what we could potentially be looking for. So we're going to start with the daily chart. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see the established trend and what could potentially happen. So you can see right now that on the chart there's a little bit of a potential buy signal, which is what we're looking at here. Now we've not bought this. This is just something that was discussed earlier. We did have an alert, a buy stop that wasn't triggered, and then we closed the order, and now we're looking at something else. So what are we looking at? Well, we can see that the market has rejected this trend line here several times, and we've now potentially thinking, would this be the best opportunity to short this market? Well, in my opinion, yeah, that would be great, but sometimes the market just doesn't come back to those areas, and we might just get a continuation directly from where we are. But we'll have to wait and see. If we drop down to the smaller time frame, what you'll find is this current market area that we're looking at right now has formed a range, and that range is something we were looking at potentially trading. So earlier in the day we were looking at a buy stop above this candle here with our buy stop entry price at 56. It never triggered, the market moved lower, we cancelled our order, and now we were looking at this price point. And if we drop down to the 15 minute, what we were looking for here was we wanted to see the market where it was down here. We wanted to see a false break and the market push back up, come and test these highs here, then rotate lower where we could use a nice tight buy limit order with a limit in here and our stop loss underneath this level, where we could then look at first target somewhere in here and then have some real nice meat on the bone for extended targets, just to let the trade run should that happen. Well, it's not happened and there's no orders in place, so this can be removed right now. But if we look at what the market could do and where it could potentially go, well, if we are going to see continued dollar strength, we're likely to see this market push down lower into around that parity sort of area. And you can see that when the market tested parity a couple of weeks back, we went straight from there and moved 300 points, and now we're just seeing a little bit of a sell-off. Ideally I was looking for the market to push back up into around the 103.50s to 104s, where you can see this cluster of candle lows creating a nice base. That didn't materialize, and from that point now we're effectively, and you can see that zone there marked out on the daily chart, and that's why I'm looking for shorts from that area. If the market does continue and break below this range, then I will look for continuation shorts on smaller time frames, looking to trade this move lower. So that's the euro, looking for either a potential long if we can stay within this range and trade it up into the top of the range, or I'm looking to trade it short if we stay below this level here. And the third option is if we run up into 104s or 103.80s, I'm definitely going to look for a rejection candle here, or rejection candlestick formation, to trade from here and trade the continuation pattern lower. Second currency we're going to look at today is dollar Swiss. or currency pair I should say, is dollar Swiss. This is technically a really nice chart, and we could see a little bit more downside. So if we look at again what's happened here, price tested parity. So basically $1 was one Swiss franc, and then that moved effectively 450 points in a straight line with no corrections when it tested parities. Each time it's come down, we've seen the market have a nice little bit of rally, and we came up towards just short of 99, and since then the market sold off. So we've seen dollar Swiss selling off. Now where does price move to and from? Well, it rotates towards, it's a bit like a gravitational pull. So the blue zone I've got highlighted down here at 94.60, if I just zoom out, you'll see why I've got this blue zone marked in, and it was something we were looking at for longs as well. So when the market broke out of this structure here and pulled back, this was a perfect opportunity to get long, and you'll see the break, the retest, and then there you go, there's the break, black candle retest, buy stop above the highs, and lovely profit. Now what we're looking for is a continuation back down towards this key support level. If we drop down to the 4-hour chart, you're going to see something that's looking very, very nice indeed from a technical perspective. So we've seen this market effectively rejecting the descending trend line, 1, 2, 3, and here with the shooting star. Now you wouldn't sell this because we've got the counter trend line that the market is staying above up until the last 4-hour candle. As you can see here, this 4-hour candle did close below the counter trend line, and we have rejected, the shooting star rejected this support level here that was broken, retested, and retested that trend line. So we could potentially look for sell stops underneath the previous 4-hour candle with our stop loss just above this zone here. I don't believe you need to go all the way above the highs, but I would also wait until after 10 p.m. because the spreads are going to widen. So probably leave it until around 11 p.m. UK time to look for shorting opportunities. If it goes without you, it goes without you, don't worry about it. And this is going to give you around a 2-to-1 trading opportunity. So if you're risking $1,000 on the trade, you're effectively looking to get around $2,000 back. Now if you do scale out along the way, then obviously that's going to reduce that overall return. So that's the two FX markets I want to look at. I'm going to take a look at the NASDAQ, and then I'm going to take a look at one crypto market, and that'll be Ethereum. So we're going to start with the daily chart, and the daily chart, if we look at it, there's some real nice confluence here as to why we're looking for long opportunities. So I'm just going to highlight, we've got effectively the descending trend line here that's been tested 3 times. Then we saw a rejection here for the 4th time, and then for that immediate candle shift in sentiment that broke higher. So we've had 3 rejections, 4 rejections, and then a shift in sentiment. Now let's take a look at these rejections here. We've got a horizontal level being formed, the market rejected it, and then we've broken through, and now we're coming back to retest. So we've got old resistance acting as new support. What else can we look at? Well, our head trader Nolan, he's a real big fan of moving averages to add confluence. So I'm just going to show you something that he would look at here and how he would look for that extra confirmation. So what we see is the market's broken out of our structural points, it's added, we've gone from producing also lower highs, as you can see here, lower highs, again another lower high. We've now added a new high, so we've got multiple confluences. We've broken out of the descending trend line, we've broken out of the horizontal structure, and now we've broken out and given a new high in the marketplace. One thing else we can add now by what Nolan uses, we've had a shift in our EMAs. Now the difference between the shift in the EMA here and the one here is we've seen multiple breakouts of structure. So we could place a buy stop above today's high with a stop loss below today's low. So that's for the end of day traders, those that don't have much time and would only look at the charts at the end of an evening or first thing in the morning when they can place orders. Now, can we potentially improve this trade? Well, obviously we can always improve trades based on how much we want to delve into that trade. So if we look at the 4-hour chart, we are seeing the market impulse, correction, impulse, and we could see a correction, another impulse, fails to break the low, and then we see that change in cycle. So we could see that. So that's something we could look for. Moving averages on the 4-hour chart, not looking bullish at all, so we would expect to see the market continue lower. If we go down to the 1-hour chart, what we can see here is we see much nicer cyclical patterns. We can see that impulse, correction, impulse, correction, impulse, now potentially a correction. In order for us to have more confirmation, what we're going to look for is price to break out of this high here, and then as it breaks out the high here, whether it creates a new high or equal high, it's going to pull back. The confirmation we have there is we've broken out of our descending trend line. We could also, as price rotates higher and pulls back, as it starts to go again, we could look for the hourly moving averages to move back in line and looking for that continuation to the upside. So I'm looking for this trade. It's either end of day buy stop, or tomorrow you're going to look for that change in cycle where you see the market either create an equal high, will come back, look for a retest of the trend line and a bullish price, a candlestick price action to trade long, or we can use this high here with a buy stop above there and using our stop loss underneath the most recent swing low, which is going to give you a little bit more of an advantage in terms of you're not putting your stop all the way underneath the lows right here, because if we are going to break that high, this low's being formed, then we don't really need to have our stop underneath here. It's protected here because we've got continuation changing cycle. So basically we get a bit more bang for our buck, which everyone wants a bit more bang for their buck. And last but not least, we're going to move over to crypto. I'm going to look at Ethereum, because Ethereum's looking nice for a potential short. So we're going to start with daily chart, and let me just remove the EMAs because it's not something that I have on my chart a lot, but if it helps illustrate a point, then I will use it. Okay, so let's just remove these fibs. We don't need those fibs anymore, and I'm going to remove this right now. Okay, so mainly things we're going to look at with Ethereum is the main sort of structural point we were looking at was around $1,700. The market broke through that, and then we formed a range down here between sort of $1,250 and $1,000. We broke out of that, so we broke out of resistance, and I would expect now price to come back down and test resistance at around $1,250. But there's potentially a trade before that, which is what I'm looking at here. I was looking for the short at 1700, but price never made it that high. Instead formed this little bit of a corrective pattern, which we'll see quite clearly on a smaller time frame. So there you go, we can see the 4-hour chart. We've got this correction pattern where the market was creating this nice rising channel that we saw a shooting star in here reject. Market came down, tested the lower part of the channel, and then continued lower. Now, what we can look for our short trade will be points of confluence. So we've got the ascending trend line here that the market broke out of. So we're going to look for price to rotate back up into this area here, where we can look for a sell candle formation or a selling candlestick pattern that we can look for to where the market's going to reject this area. There's also this little zone here that we can highlight, one that I deleted earlier. There we go, helps if I highlight the. So we'll look for price to come back up into this area. And then last but not least, we can also add in our fibs from swing high down to swing low, and we're looking for confluence. So where do we see a lot of things meeting up? So the confluence we're seeing is right in here. So we've got the 50 fib, we've got the zone, we've got the ascending trend line. Price rotates back up into here. We look for our bearish candlestick formation or candlestick pattern, and we'll look to trade that move lower back down towards 1270. Now I'm just going to do it just in case Nolan is watching this tonight. See if his moving averages are in line. So this is something that we can look for. Price come back into the sweet spot. So we've got Nolan's magic EMAs in here where you could look for extra confluence to agree with his setup, and we could look for a rejection of that 1500, big number as well, to rotate lower. So this is a really nice technical setup, so I'm really looking forward to jumping on board Ethereum at some point if we get that pushback higher into here. So if you have enjoyed tonight's technical analysis video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with any fellow traders, and make sure you subscribe to our channel. We do appreciate all the support, but if you do have any questions about particular charts you would like us to do analysis on, or basically anything that you would like us to produce content on, please comment or drop us an email and we'll be happy to do that. On that note, guys, that's it for tonight. Have a great evening and we will see you tomorrow.